Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose, Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks. Today I'm joined by Tim Atkins, Managing Director of Place and Growth at Cheltenham Borough Council. Tim, thanks ever so much for joining us today. We're here to talk about the Golden Valley development. It's such an exciting, massive project. Can you tell us about it, please? How did you get involved with it, first of all?
Interesting point. And so firstly involved, we just initially needed, there was interest in what was going on around West Cheltenham, following on from the announcement that was made by George Osborne back in 2015 when I arrived. And it was really just developing that idea about what our relationship was with GCHQ, NCSC, and the interest in that land behind there. And we need to take steps to get it out of the green belt as part of the JCS process. And I slowly started getting involved in that. And I think it was more of a sort of an attritional thing that the opportunity that came out of it and the need for other council to get involved and take a real leadership role in that just grew and grew. And then obviously that kind of fell into my remit. And since that point, it's just grown and grown. And I've got more sort of deeply involved in it as kind of every month goes by, and that's now taken over the great majority of my job, and very fortunate that Cheltenham Borough Council and other partners have been happy to support me in doing that.
I don't know if you know, but I used to be a director of the Urban Regeneration Company, and that was like 16, 17 years ago. And I always remember them saying it's going to be an 8-year, maybe 9-year project. But it wasn't. It's still going on now, all these years later. And I think really the thing about something like this is about expectation, isn't it? And about regeneration and how long these things take. I mean, this is a massive project. Can you describe to our listeners, please, and viewers, how big this is? I'm just going to scroll down here and go across to your bits and bobs, because this is it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like, so the image that you've got there, I'm quite, fond of that one, and try to give some perspective on its importance and how it impacts, because the size of the blue land that's around the kind of oblong shape thing, the blue land, that, that's 200 hectares. And when we do a piece, when we've been through presentations and I compare that, that's the same size as the City of London. It's the same size as the Olympic Village approximately. So you've got some it's the same size of MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It is in that size. That is the opportunity that sits in front of you. Look at it, it's bang, right next to Gloucestershire Airport, the M5. You've got the railway line connecting us with London and the Midlands. And, we're really in that sweet spot there that it can have so much impact. And building out, when we look at some of the stuff we build out, this would come forward in phases, and the bit that we want to get away at that very early stage is that piece that's closest to GCHQ, which is the area of the land that we've purchased, and that's the thing. We'll have this cyber innovation zone, cyber innovation centre in it, and that will be part of a campus which we're really striving to make something of global importance. Bringing together academic, bringing together government, bringing together small business, large business, to make that really gel and make it something special. And the scale, the importance to Gloucestershire. You just look at it and see that it goes like, wow, that is bang in the middle of Gloucestershire.
Now, this bit here, obviously, as we go down the Golden Valley and you come to GCHQ, this is where all the roadworks is being done now. This is where everyone gets clogged up coming in and out of town. But it's really vitally important, isn't it, that bit is done so it can link over to what we're talking about here. And that obviously links to Junction 5 as well. Sorry, Junction 10 of the M5.
Yeah, so the transport stuff's really important, and obviously anyone who lives in the area will have all been affected by the roadworks, which have been going on some time. And obviously, please bear with us. These major infrastructure improvements, do have an impact on people's lives, and we get that. But we can't really move forward without that. And however much we want to be non-car based and move forward development, that those improvements have been long time coming. There's capacity in the network from years back that those changes have been required for. So that's really going to help movement coming into the site, and that first tranche of development that you will hopefully see, which will be coming through on the land, nearest to the A40 there. The junction 10 that you mentioned, obviously that's been led by the County Council, Highways England, and the government in terms of bringing forward those improvements. Again, a massive necessary infrastructure improvement for the county. And that will help access. So you get those work from both sides of the site, and that's going to make all the traffic flows work properly.
Because that's the fundamental point about this, isn't it? You don't just regenerate or build here in the cyber centre in the Golden Valley. It's all these other things that are springing out, like spokes of a wheel, where you've got junction 10. Obviously it's going to help Gloucestershire Airport, the A40, the railway link. That's what I think is so exciting about it all.
And yeah, well, absolutely. And then one of the things that I've been trying to draw a bit of attention to is this whole idea of 15-minute, 20-minute city principles. That there's been quite a lot of talk about it. And if you kind of draw a circle around the edge of the first part of the Golden Valley there, and you link it into where the station is, and there's trains between Cheltenham and Gloucester that run. It takes you 8 minutes between those two. And if you actually draw, kind of a 1.5 mile, 2 mile radius around that, something you can walk in, maybe 15, 20 minutes or something on a bicycle, the opportunity that links into, some of the most deprived communities, there's those pockets, those wards of deprivation that we've got in Cheltenham, but also in access over to Gloucester as well. And so, if you go into the area that they've got into the centre of town, and the connectivity. So the impact that we can have, this is just not about, creating jobs for people who can drive there. This is about opening up jobs for, for people who struggle to, to get access, and that those pathways to good jobs and good education and good skills. And so, in a generation's time, we really think, we could make a massive impact on this. And again, it's not just Cheltenham, Gloucester, and out into other areas of Gloucestershire.
Let's just quickly talk about the stats, because I love this next slide that they've created here. So let's just talk through the numbers. We got 1.9 billion investment of government in UK cyber industry. Can we have a little chat about these then, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, so you mentioned the investment into the cyber industry, and there's a number down there of 9 billion, and that's the value of the sector. So, big, scary stats. This sector is expanding at an enormous pace. So I think over a 2-year period, it doubled in value nationally. So that's huge growth. And then that, the big numbers, so the government see that, so they're investing considerably into it. But in terms of its impact on Cheltenham and Gloucestershire, we have the biggest concentration of cyber businesses who work in this sector in the whole of the UK outside London. So again, it gives it, for Gloucestershire, this is a huge thing for us, because it's something that we're very good at. We've got specialist skills, and we have a huge number of companies which are growing at a considerable pace. So that's that. Sorry, you've got that one on the next slide. But in talking about some of the investment numbers as well. I don't know if you want to just pop back to the other slide, because you want me to cover off. Yeah, so so that's that one in terms of the 200% growth, and then the floor space there. So this is our target, 2 million square foot of commercial space, and quite easy we talk about that as office space, but a lot of that is really aimed at drawing in companies that work in this field of innovation and have interest in that. So this isn't just what we randomly describe as employment space, which could be a whole gift of many things. The first tranches of this development are going to be really focused around pioneering innovation, collaborative workplaces, and bringing some of those really interesting companies that do quite important things for the national infrastructure, and getting them in here into Cheltenham. And a lot of them are around and about the area, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're just moving them from one place to another. I think what we're going to be doing is attracting new parts of their businesses that they'd like to see developed. So again, that's quite a big number.
It's a huge number, 2 million square feet. of office space. So David, let's talk about these stats. In 43,000 employees working beside, and they're on about in America. I remember seeing on the news they wanted 600,000 to recruit 600,000 people in America for their cyber industry and security.
Yeah,
you're right. The opportunity here is immense, isn't it?
and you know, so on my little hobby horse there. So I kind of live in Cheltenham, and I've got kids, and we're just thinking, the whole model of the idea that you go to university, you study law, you go off and become a lawyer, or whatever the dream is going to be for you, to sort of say, to get a good job. Jobs in this sector don't necessarily need a degree. They don't need you to go to university. You can learn those skills as long as you got to study in the right subject. You got the right skills as you come into sort of A levels. You can get yourself into working, either through an apprenticeship or through doing a sort of part-time degree. There's a whole bundle of different ways where you got people commanding significant salaries with really exciting and good jobs, and they haven't been to university. And this is a model that we're seeing a lot more develop through this sector, because it's a really effective way of recruiting people into it as well, because they're getting that hands-on experience that you can't really get elsewhere. So a lot of the companies that are now working are looking to work with the local colleges. So, for example, Gloucester on the campus in Cheltenham, they are now delivering apprenticeship courses, and a lot of the businesses are now interacting with them. So we see this as a real growth opportunity, and it's a bit of a game changer. So in one generation's time, we might see things working completely differently.
Oh, it's interesting here as well. 20 universities within the 75-mile radius of the park as well.
Absolutely, and that so again, I think going back to that logo, you don't have to go back, but the locational thing is that at the heart of this, we've got access to that sort of academic knowledge, and quite a few of those universities are ACEs, so they're academic centres of excellence in cyber. So they work with the NCSC, so that's the National Cyber Security Centre. In terms of working on excellence, academic excellence in this area. So again, we're really well positioned for that, and really, again, now there's not many places that have access to all of this know-how.
Just go to the next slide, and this I think is such a great slide, great bit of graphics. Do you want to just quickly talk through some of this?
Yeah. So, well, it just gives you a whole matrix of how we keep that local economy, strong, and how we can do that on a local basis. And it all comes back to the heart of it, that we've got thriving businesses there, and the ecosystem that we can create is going to be really strong. And it all comes back to the base of this. If we can get all the local businesses connected and supporting this development, you can spread that out, and Gloucestershire has that ability to do this. And I do, being a little bit critical sometimes, we haven't always been the best between us as sort of making those connections and working across the boundaries. But I think things are definitely changing, and we just got to sort of look out about that strength, because we've got to go out and not necessarily compete, but we've just got to promote ourselves really powerfully about what we've got, and that promotion, if you actually work yourself around the wheel there, that we've really got that sort of depth of talent, we've got those depth of services, and it's also in an environment that is really attractive. And the post-COVID thing as well, people are looking to potentially change how they live and how they work, and Gloucestershire's got bundles of that, and from an accessibility point of view, we've got that whole ecosystem, but we do need to work as a bunch of stakeholders promoting ourselves as one.
Well, just going back to this original slide, so where are we actually at the moment? The roadworks are being done here, just to sort of get the timescales if that's possible. So we've got the Golden Valley developed. What's next, Tim?
Right. Well, so we've appointed a development partner. So we're in the process of sort of getting to the point of finalising the commercials on that deal, because they were appointed as a preferred bidder.
So that's these guys there, HBD.
Yeah, so that's HBD, who are a major developer, UK developer, and Factory. Factory are an innovate company who run innovation programs and business over in Berlin and Lisbon, and have been particularly successful in that. So there's an international concept to that, because what we're trying to create, is it's unique. What we're trying to create here is unique, and that hasn't been delivered at the sort of scale we're looking at in the UK today. So bringing those two together, we're trying to get that deal over the line in the early part of next year, and that will then see us bringing forward a planning application for the first phases, and a master plan for the overall scheme. So we want to move forward with that. Obviously, our focus has always been, and there's no secret with that, about the innovation centre. So this is the bringing together of academia, government sort of innovation programs, small business, big business, putting all that into a unique pioneering workspace. And that, along with that will be a campus style development. So there'll be elements of residential, leisure, food and beverage, and other employment uses. So that's going to be the key. And we hope to see an application coming forward for that, next year. And then, through that, we'll all be working up the design process. So, there should be, next year is going to be, an important year for us.
Now, how much is GCHQ involved with this? And, do you talk to these guys on a regular basis? I'm assuming that you'd hope that some of the work being done at Cyber Central and all this would actually feed GCHQ. Are they involved in the actual?
Well, yeah. So GCHQ are exceptionally important in relation to this and all of the work that they do. So the whole world of cybersecurity is hugely important to the British government. You've heard of the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is part of GCHQ, and their involvement in seeing the ecosystem. So the government I think we go back to the George Osborne thing when he came in 2015. This was very much a statement of the government saying, for us to actually keep up with the threat that this country and all countries suffer from in terms of cybersecurity, we've really got to upscale it. We've got to work, take that knowledge that sits within GCHQ and the NCSC and get that together with academia and business and really grow it and scale it up. And they can't do that in isolation. So the whole of this model that we're working is working with partners, from academic, from government, from NCSC to work out how we can scale this up in a safe, secure, but commercial way, because we won't be successful unless we can scale that up commercially. So we've been doing a lot of work on how we do that and how they support that and how we support them. And we been going from strength to strength. So we have a very strong relationship in terms of working that forward, and a very strong relationship with colleagues in government through DCMS, DIT, who are obviously looking at an international perspective on this as well.
Now, how did local businesses get involved with it? Not being funny, it's massive infrastructure projects going on. We've got some of the best building companies in the country here based in Gloucestershire. We have, obviously their subcontractors as well. How do those guys get involved with it? What's the procurement sort of way that these things take place?
Yeah.
Is there going to be sorry.
Yeah. So, we have appointed, so HBD is our main development partner. So we're looking to go forward with them. They're not going to go out and, they don't have all their own contracts and going to build this out themselves. What they'll do is as soon as we start bringing stuff forward, the different phases of work will, they'll be let through different contracts. We like probably most other councils and authorities in Gloucestershire, got real strong links to want to involving local businesses, and we will do that as much as we can. And they are also totally committed, because they want to do things as local as possibly they can. So from as soon as we start, from anything in terms of involving professional services, all the way through to the construction contracts, we're looking to work with as many local people as we can. And with all of these things, there's value for money, and there is experience, and there is different skill sets. But I think there is a real feel that quite a lot of these skills, you're going to kind of want people local, aren't you? Because just because of the accessibility point of view. So again, opportunity is significant. In terms of detail, we're not quite there yet, but you know, we very much minded that we want to, you know, we want to make this something that local businesses can benefit from.
Well, that's the thing, really, because businesses watching this think, okay, what's in it for me? How can I get involved? How can I grow my business around this? It's a massive investment. It is. I mean, how much was the land? Just going back, the procurement of the land that you bought was what was it, over 100 million?
37.5 million pounds. Yeah.
It's one of the biggest amount of money Cheltenham Borough Council's ever borrowed, isn't it? So you kind of.
It is. It's by far the biggest amount of money that we spent, and we spent, as I always said in the things, spent that, and we bought a green field. So you know, it's quite, but it just shows that, you know, the commitment to this and the vision of what could be achieved. And I think, you know, what is very, you know, remember this very vividly back in you know, when we actually took it to council. So this was a unanimous decision at council, so full party backing from everyone. And you know, I was there, you know, making sure on record I'm telling everyone what the risks are and what they're letting themselves in for. You know, this is a greenfield. We're a long way from opening you know, a cyber campus here. And you know, the bit of a pushback was, you know, thank you very much, Mr. Atkins, for telling us about the risk, but the risk of not doing this is actually greater because it's the lost opportunity. And I think anyone who goes into politics or local government or public service, you know, sometimes you see something that's significant and you think, do you know what, we have to make this work. And sometimes having to make it work, it will all become more difficult because you come across very hard decisions that you have to make because there's a lot of balances of other things. But that, you know, that's very real. We know we're playing with big numbers. We know we're playing with the public's money. But you know, we feel the balance, it's really worth it at the moment.
Tim, I think that's a great place to stop. All the very best. Punchline will follow it very, very carefully. And thanks ever so much for joining us. Tim Atkins, Managing Director of Place and Growth at Cheltenham Borough Council. Thanks for joining Punchline Talks today.